Friday the 14th of September, and we are right in rollover. So let's take a look at the ES, the Emini. Here is the new contract, and what has played out in the new contract: heavy selling several days ago. Many sellers were coming into the new contract as there was lighter volume action in the old contract. Since then, as the market lifted, eventually the market was rallying as the euro dollar was rallying and US dollar was dropping. Equities in both Europe and the US moving to risk, especially in the US with dollar dropping. Not uncommon, to see equities then emboldened to start running buy program activity through the day session. As a result, we've had rallies here again to new highs. Previous held short inventory completely let go. Once that inventory let go in the brand new contract, you can see the old contract that was holding some inventory has flushed out, and for the most part, now that we're getting the rollover, has pretty much let go of any remaining holders that were trying to hang on to short inventory in the old contract. There was a substantial amount of long inventory in this old contract. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 periods of some decent cashing out that's taken place in all the cycling near the highs. But with the QE3 news and the really strong rally that's taken off in the euro, with the US dollar drop, markets nowhere to go but up with the equities buying that's been taking place. So as equities run buy program activities, we then get unwinding of held short positions in the ES. So the old contract, the September contract, I really won't be tracking it anymore after today. It's pretty much washed out. Going back and looking at the delta volume analysis, I can see that since we've been rotating around the 1438 highs and higher, especially in this range of activity, we did have 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 5 periods here where there's been some good cashing out. So those that were longer from lower levels have had no problems pulling positions off profitably into the cycling near the recent highs. Last held short inventory, getting squeezed coming into rollover, for the most part just lets go, and that makes this for the most part a dead contract at this point, one that I won't be tracking. So here's the new contract. Our volume distribution, you can see we have long inventory holding 1431s, 1437s area, 1440s, 1446s, and 1449s. All our levels of held long inventory, and hardly any short inventory being held at this time. Nice little pullback. Since then, euro has taken off and rallied again. EU markets had a strong session last night, and ES is reacting to that. And you can see recent sellers have, for the most part, let go of predominance of their last held inventory. So the story here in the ES for the new December contract: many holding long positions from the 1431s level on up, and hardly anybody holding any short inventory at this time. I have started to sell this new contract myself. I've started to sell 1457.50s. So I'm a seller in the new contract, and I'll be looking for short setups, especially today if I see very last small amount of inventory let go. That will leave this market completely out of balance from an open interest ratio standpoint. We'll have everybody that's in positions of any significant position size long, and almost nobody of any significant position size short, and that puts a it changes the physics of the supply and demand when that happens. So that's what I'll be watching for today in the ES. Now in the euro dollar, here's the old contract. This is the September contract. This is the December contract. As there was heavy selling during this time period, when the market was cycling around the upper 2500s, 2600s area, there was a lot of selling taking place in the September contract, but in the new contract we've had net buying building strength as it's traded from the 2460s area pretty much all the way up through the 2800s level. First started getting a little bit of cashing out, and since then, so there's continued to be very strong and continuing newly initiated buying flooding into the new contract. That's helping fuel the upside movement, as you can see the dwindling activity in the old contract. So a lot of selling, as these entities that were selling in this contract, obviously somebody was also buying in the new contract. That buying in the new contract is definitely paid off. The market's had a substantial rally. We did have some capitulation here, you can see in the old contract. We had all that selling, and finally these markets just started to let go of a fair amount of that inventory. There's been some selling and unwinding a few more times, and then this contract, as this volume has really picked up, and there's been a really strong buying bias in the new contract in the 2800, 2880s level, actually 2800s, pretty much 2800s level on up. There's been a dwindling activity going on in the old contract, or the contract that will expire. So real quick, let's just take a look at this old contract, and you can see at this point there's not really much activity left in it. Anybody that was long from lower levels has definitely had the opportunity. I can see 3 periods where there was some heavy cashing out into these highs, and for the most part any directional sellers that were heavy into this contract before, for the most part it does appear that the substantial amount of any unwinding took place into that big rally when we broke out of this 2500s level and traded up to the 2800s. Since then, most of this selling in here has most likely been cashing out of those that are long, not necessarily newly initiated sellers trying to sell into the highs. There was a little bit of unwinding possibly going on in this last action of those that were short, just having to let go. But if we take a look at the new contract, you can see it's pretty much been all buying. There's been a few periods, just a very few periods, where there's been some light selling, possibly cashing out of some of this accumulated long action into the market as we traded up and hit through the 2900s area and rolled off that level. So this is the story with the new contract. All the inventory that's currently being held of any significant position size that's still in effect would be off this 2760s area on up. We are just now getting sell response. I've been selling 3121s on up this morning. We finally got some sell response coming in. This market has been vacant of any significant held short inventory, so we're in a completely out of balance open interest picture. And as a result of that and the lack of activity and dwindling volume on the old contract has me a seller into the new highs. Today you can see we do have some levels of held long inventory right here, pretty much right in the 2980s to 90s area. Next level below that, 2880s, 2840s, and just below that we have some inventory being held off to 2820s level. Our lowest held level of long inventory at this time that would still possibly be in effect in this market is the inventory that was originally held here off the 2760s. So you can see into these pullbacks, there continued to be long accumulation and the market continued to keep rallying. I would really be surprised to see the market get much more extension now that the QE3 news is out, and with the fact that this market, the new contract that's gaining and growing the contract volume going forward, there's just not very much long inventory in this market, and we have a lot of participants that are very deep in the money. It's a Friday, we're about to go into the weekend. It would not be surprising to see some additional cashing out prior to the weekend, now that the news has played out from the Federal Reserve that there's going to be continued unending dysfunctional addition of liquidity to the market that isn't backed by anything. So anyhow, that's the story of where we're at for Friday. Great market action, some really good rallies, getting through rollover, and it'll be very curious to see how the day plays out leading up to the end of the day and then through the weekend for our setup into Sunday night Globex and futures markets reopen. So I'm a seller in the euro dollar as of 31.21s and above, and I've been a seller in the ES into the new highs this morning once this market had pretty much run out of most of its held inventory. So that's the market levels report for Friday, September 14th.